Okay, welcome to module number 2, which is the question: why do you need to color grade? Before I dive into it, I want to say that for the past 5 years, mirrorless cameras got an amazing image quality. Like, no matter what brand of camera you have, if it's a mirrorless camera, you can get a good image quality. However, this course is focused on S-Log footage. S-Log comes from Sony cameras. S from Sony. If you have Canon cameras, you have C-Log. If you have Fujifilm, you have F-Log. If you have cameras from Panasonic, like Lumix, as I mentioned, it has V-Log. So you have different kinds of log footages depending on the camera brand you have. The good news about Sony cameras, you have a good range of the most cheap cameras to the most expensive ones, and you can easily find what suits you best, and also all of them have S-Log2 picture profile. If you're just starting out, if you want to try if video creation is working for you, of course I recommend to get the cheapest version, cheapest model of the camera, which is Sony a6300. Even though it's the cheapest, but keep in mind the sensor is not full frame. It's smaller compared to Sony a7 III, which I'm filming right now, and this just puts you an additional caution to properly expose, like expose even more properly. The range of mistakes is smaller, I would say. If you have a little more budget, of course I recommend to get Sony a7 III or even Sony a7 II. You can get very cheap on a second-hand market. These type of cameras that I mentioned is in the middle range. They are not the most cheap and not the most expensive. They're pretty good in terms of taking pictures and filming videos. Of course, if you're like a guy with money, right, and you see video creation as something you want to do professionally and long term, of course I recommend to get the newer models: Sony a7 IV, Sony FX3, Sony A1. These cameras came out in the last 3 years. I say they're the newest generation of cameras because compared to Sony a7 III, for example, they have a 10-bit color range. So what does it mean? If you have 8-bit color, you have less, your sensor capture less color variations. If you have 10-bit color, of course it can capture way more. Like, I will show you here some statistics, and it's a very big difference. And because you film an 8-bit footage, for example, you are more or less likely to attain color artifacts, as I showed you in the previous module. So let's go back to the initial question: why do you need to color grade? And there are two answers. First, it will help you to squeeze the maximum potential out of your camera. And second, as I said in the beginning, most of the mirrorless cameras have pretty good image quality. And imagine if everyone just decided to film in a natural picture profile, just natural colors. Of course, it would be boring. You will not be able to stand out. This is why color grading is essential. Again, to make your choices easier, because there are plenty of models. Again, starting from Sony a6300. If you go to the earlier versions, you may not have S-Log2 or log footage at all. So to make it easier, again, choose Sony a7 II or Sony a7 III. It will help you to learn the basics and also advanced stuff. For real, these cameras can keep you in learning mode for some years. Like my camera, I'm filming with it at the moment. I understood how to squeeze the maximum image quality, but for sure I know that I can go even deeper. Like, depending on situation I'm in, maybe there are different kinds of log footage I can use in my advantage. And if you still don't believe me that these old cameras that came out like 7 or 5 years ago are not good enough, I recommend you to type on YouTube Sony a7 II cinematic or Sony a7 III cinematic and see it for yourself. Also, I'm trying to show you here some footage, because with enough knowledge how the camera works and understanding the proper exposure, you can easily attain a good image quality. Of course, I will show you some tips and tricks in post-production. So thank you for watching this module, and see you on the next one.